Act 1. Exterior. Cocktail bar. "Oh, I have a cigarette, but I don't have a lighter," says a small lady. "I know, I'll go and ask that man in the white, with the long hair, for a lighter." Lady walks over to man, asks man for lighter. Lady receives. Lighter. Lady smokes. Act 2. Interior. Cocktail bar. A small lady walks up the stairs, having just been to the toilet, and passes a man in a white top with long hair. On the staircase, the man stops her and says, "Can I have your number?" The lady responds, "Yes," and proceeds to give the man her number. Act 3. The French Embassy. 5:15 in the morning. Bold, cheeky, flashy. Gallus. Hello, hi, welcome to the Gallus Podcast. This is me, Ryan, here talking to you from Scotland, but this episode of the Gallus Podcast is a special one because it's another Scotrail Tour in audio form, which is the long form title of the Gallus Podcast, Scotrail Tour Editions. Now, the most recent Scotrail Tour that went up about 2.5 minutes ago, if you listen to this, when it was released, so on and so forth. Oh, how exciting, ain't all this posting in the world and scheduling stuff fun. The most recent episode was on Salzburg. Now, you would have thought, hang on, Salzburg is not in Scotland. Salzburg is in Austria, or should I say Salzburg is in Austria. That's where you're wrong, because I'm currently in Scotland thinking about my time in Salzburg, which means Salzburg is here and able to be Scotrail Toursified. That is my justification, that is our justification, and also because it's funny because the airline we went there with was called Lufthansa, so I present to you the first ever Luftwaffe Tours. LT. Luftwaffe Tours. LWT, baby, that's what this is. So for about the next 20 minutes of your time, I'm going to be talking to you all about the lovely place known as Salzburg. Should we play the intro again? No, we'll play an intro that I improvise on the spot. Clap, clap, Salzburg review. This isn't going to be linear because I'm going to start by talking about the thing that I'm going to remember most about Salzburg, being the airport. The airport is tiny. The airport is the size of a barn, and not a big barn, a relatively small barn. The duty free is smaller than your average corner shop. The cafe is more expensive than your average 5-star restaurant. Security? I mean, like, what? No really applicable. The place had, 4 flights leaving the day we left, and we were there for 4 hours because we showed up really early thinking we should, and then the flight was delayed. And there was nothing to do. Occasionally you'd go a walk and look at the board. Occasionally you'd go and find the toilet, which was at least an exciting journey. Oh, up the stairs. On the way back, you get out of one room. On the way there on our arrival from Lufthansa, we get off the plane, pick up your luggage in the next room, and then you're out the next room, which is when Emmanuel, our host of the Airbnb, picked us up. Now, Emmanuel is a lovely man. He offered to pick us up and take us to our B&B for free, completely free, because Emmanuel is a sweetheart. He tells us he's in his mother's car, and we say, "Okay, Emmanuel." Emmanuel drives us all the way to the French Embassy, which is where our place was located. It was underneath the French Embassy, which is the single coolest thing in the world. The French Embassy. And of course, what's underneath. Now, that led to us solely, and me for the next duration of this podcast, referring to our little Airbnb or apartment or accommodation as the Embassy, which is what it shall be known as, and it is what known as it shall be. The Embassy had everything you could ever dream of. Skis, the Embassy had. Golf clubs, the Embassy had. About 5 umbrellas, the Embassy had. A sauna, the Embassy had. A Hard Rock Cafe toilet, the Embassy had. A kitchen, another kitchen, a fridge that didn't work, a fridge that worked, forks, spoons, bowls, plates, a bread loaf keeper that didn't shut, so it didn't work. Chairs that were broken. Oh, what else did the embassy have? It had self-motion detected lights beside the toilet, which didn't have a lock, and was in my bedroom, our bedroom, which meant if someone else who wasn't staying in the same room as me decided they wanted to use the toilet, they would have to have walked into our room and activated our bedroom light. It had a light that never truly went off, which was also in our bedroom. It had white, clear curtains, which meant the light could come in through the windows. Our building was also in the basement. The embassy was in the base. The actual French embassy was on the street level. The French embassy was in the other level, the basement level. So we were also underground. It was really warm at all times. It had so many different wallpapers. It had a TV channel with the news. I can tell you a lot about Women's World Cup and the Greek wildfires. I can tell you a lot about it, but I'm not gonna. I can also tell you about a television show called Click that airs as part of the news. Never watch Click. If someone says what's on the news and you say Click, and they say Click, run, hide. We had one key between four of us. A door, self-locking doors. Every door locked themselves. Every door had keys, but we only had one, of course. The door locked itself, and they were really heavy, our big front doors to the French embassy. What was great though was our location, which could not have been better to explore. Salzburg. Ah, grandson, you're off to Austria then, are you? Salzburg? Oh, well, you'll have a lovely time. Stay safe. What is it you're planning on doing in Salzburg? Your places? Oh, well, Grandad, you see, we're gonna go to these ice caves that we found. It's gonna be amazing. Look at the view. We're going to a place called Hallstatt. It's absolutely stunning. Postcard material. Look at this. It's really pretty. Look at the boat on the lake. We're gonna go on the boat to the lake, or train, or whatever. Yeah, we're going to go to Hallstatt. There's what else was there's Munich. We're going to Munich, Germany for the day. That'll be amazing because train travel and bus journeys, it's all much cheaper in Europe than it is here. We're going to go to the zoo. Oh, it's going to be absolutely amazing. So we leave the embassy and we cross a bridge. Having seen some Spirited Away-esque buildings and a cliff beside us, a hill, we walk across a little bridge. It's a very stunning bridge. That's where all your influencers are taking their little Snapchats and their Instagrams and their TikToks and their Facebooks and their Twitter X's and their threads and their Reddits and their Word documents, video edition, and their Canon cameras and all that jazz. And you cross this bridge, you come into a lovely coffee shop. Lovely river runs by the side of it. Very nice lamppost. Don't kiss the lamppost. It would be a terribly silly thing to do one night, wouldn't it, if you were drunk? Kissing lampposts. Pfft. Childish. Anyway, there's these horse carts pulling people with all the proper like Austrian, Bavarian dressed people and funky hat men. That's what we're going with, and the horse and carts are pulling families across, and you're like, hey, oh, look at all the horse shit. Look at all the horse shit trailing underneath these horses. Convenient there's a guy paid who has Adidas trackies to clean up the horse shit. He's a great guy. He's soaked in shit, and that's what he does. He follows all spine, cleans the shit, so the streets remain clean, because there isn't a single bit of litter in Salzburg, not a single bit of litter, to the degree that we actually put things in bins to avoid adding to the litter problem. Not that we would litter in dear old Scotland, no, we would never do such a thing. I'm just looking outside of my window and I can see litter. You didn't see that in Salzburg, and that's not just because we lived underground of a French embassy, which meant you didn't really see an outside world. God, it lived in its own little realm of existence, Salzburg, because it's like an hour ahead of Britain time, so like it's really different and really scary. And everything's so much cheaper, despite Emmanuel telling us that the prices are inflated. The prices haven't inflated shit, unless the prices were really, really dirt cheap last time. I lived on a breakfast of bread, because bread was absolutely goated in Salzburg. You couldn't get a single better bit of food than to find a bread, banana, and a wee bottle of Coke, and it came to combined about €2, and I bought a lot of bread, a lot of wee different types of exciting goods: white bread, brown bread, Bavarian bread, seeded bread, non-seeded bread, long bread, tastier bread, very, very tasty bread, expensive bread, cheap bread, spar bread, square bread, circular bread. There's lots of different types of bread in the world, and I ate all of them in Austria. What I don't understand most is how Sparkola can be tasty in Austria. How can that taste decent? Aside from that, you get on a bus and you go to the zoo. That's like the first thing you do when you go to Salzburg. It's pretty obvious. Now you get off the bus and you can get a lovely view of Mount Kilimanjaro, or whatever it's called. I'm going to call it Mount Kilimanjaro, even though it's probably Mount Salzburg, or whatever. I don't care. Oh, also, there's everywhere you go in Salzburg, you can constantly see this giant castle. The emphasis on the word castle, because it's not actually a castle, it's a fortress. Fortress Holtenherzen Salzburg, or something like that. Now, you're at the zoo, you hand them the ticket, and they're like, aye, cheers, you give them the money, and you say your Scottish word, cheers, ta, thank you, appreciated, mate, and so on and so forth, and then you go through the front door and immediately see the monkeys, and you watch the monkeys, and then the monkeys shit in front of you. Oh, it doesn't matter, not important. And then you continue exploring through the zoo, and you see a snow leopard, and you don't see a bear, and you see the little baby goats, and you go and you stand in the pen, and all the little baby goats come up to you, and you're like, hello baby goat, I shall call you baby goat. And you do the baby goat song, which is a bit like Baby Shark, but it's more baby goat, so on and so forth. Now I won't actually allow you the audio of me doing that, because I think that would be insufferable. You continue on your adventure, you find otters, and they cut about doing otter things. You find these idiotic things that have ended up climbing on top of things. You find little hogs, little baby hogs, and you're like, baby hog, baby hog, so on and so forth. I glitched there, that's what happened. You continue on your journey, you see the snow leopard again, you see all the things you've seen again, you see the little baby goats, and you think, baby goat, and you think maybe I'll go pet to the baby goat, but I'm not going to talk to the baby goat, I'm going to continue my way. You go to the restauranty place, and you spend £4 on a bottle, €4 on a bottle of Coke, and you're like, that's called emotional pain. You then continue and you see flamingos, and you're like, oh, pink. All the different colours of flamingo, pink and pink. There's about 15 of the guys, girls, whatever they are. One's called Josh White, and they all just started making noises. It's kind of what flamingos sounded like. It's not what flamingos sounded like. You then see more monkeys, and a one wee monkey who doesn't want to cross the water, and you see the baby monkeys. Then you end up going to the penguins, because, well, of course you do. You see the penguins, and you watch the penguins, you watch the master penguin, one-eyed penguin, them diving in the water, them just kind of flapping about. You see 4 rhinos, and you're like, well, that's 4 giant rhinos. Then you come across 4 tortoises, and the tortoises fuck each other. They just started having sex in front of us. And they sound like, tortoise sex has some of the worst noises you'll ever hear. It did build up quite an audience, and I'm pretty sure it led to one little girl receiving the talk from her parents. But then you leave the tortoise sex, and you continue on your journey till you find the lions. And the lions, that was the main attraction to the zoo, and you saw the lion just chilling on in his zoo, and then you went back and you saw 2 more tortoises fucking, you saw 4 rhinos again, you saw the penguins doing the penguiny things, and then you go to the gift shop, walk around for a while, realise it's quite expensive, and leave. That's not just Salzburg Zoo in a nutshell, but that's zoos in general in a nutshell. Do you know what I appreciated at the zoo? The absolute freedom you had. I've been to a few Scottish zoos, and, you know, like, there's very strict rules. You could go in anywhere, and if you were, like, legally allowed to go in an enclosure with these animals, they would let you in the enclosure. It was also stunning, and all the animals had a lot of space, because if you're the kind of person that hates zoos because of, you know, animal captivity, they had a lot of space here, a lot of free roam, a lot of water. Really cool view of Mount Kilimanjaro at all times from the other side. Well, there was also one of them capybaras, whatever that's worth. A lot of folk like capybara. Look, that went on for quite some time of me not really knowing how to say the name of the animal, so I went away and I didn't research it. And then I cut out some of it, but left some of it so I could make this joke here. You know, I'm recording this, like, bit 2 hours after I recorded the first part, and now I'm starting to think, well, I didn't just record this part for the joke, as in when I recorded the first part. You have any idea how much setup this bit took? Right, I need to make it worthwhile. What's worthwhile, I say, as I look away from my microphone, hence not recording any audio really. What can make this section worthwhile? Capybara. What you do after the zoo? You go home, you sleep, and after you go home and you sleep, you get up the next day and you go to the Castle Salzburg, Fortress Hortenhazenburg. Or like Forten Salzburg. It's a fortress, not a castle. You get on the wee mad tram, roller coaster, machiney, lifty, cable carry machine, Bobby Maboo, and you go up, up, and then you're at the castle, which has some of the best views you'll get around the entire joint, around the joint being Salzburg. You can see the embassy, because you can always see the embassy, just like you can always see the castle, because it makes sense. You're living at this castle, you're living your best life at this castle, he says after a dramatic freeze in his speech. And you go through all the rooms, you're like, wow. You go to the viewpoint, you see a giant Austria flag, you look out across the entire little city, and you're like, wow, what a breathtakingly pretty place. It's not very often we find ourselves in breathtakingly pretty places. It's a tongue twister, try saying it, breathtakingly pretty place. It's really quite hard to say that, and it's aggravating me. Breathtakingly pretty place. There's no way to say it and don't come across like highly aggressive. That might just be me though. That might be a problem with Ryan and not breathtakingly pretty place, which sounded the best so far because I held my voice. I held back the anger, the frustration, the violence, the fear. Anyway, that was rambled on way too much. That bit wasn't funny, was it? No. Anyway, we'll play forward and we'll continue discussing Salzburg's castle. You then enter the museumy part where you cut about all the places. You come across a giant cow and you're like, cow! It's what you do when you're in a car and you drive past something on a long road trip. Except this time we were just exploring a castle. Find out about all these incredibly creepy dolls. I don't want to talk about the creepy dolls, but there was a photo booth in there that was like scary apparently. Wasn't scary. You click the button to take a photo and go, it shows you a skeleton on the screen. That looks realistic, doesn't it? That's clearly made of plastic. Oh, it's real. Oh, that skeleton's real. I just touched a real skeleton. Oh, I feel sick now. It wasn't real. It probably wasn't real. It might have been real. There was a glass cabinet up to stop you from touching it, but you get the idea. There was a room with all the World War II stuff, which was pretty something, and a room which made you feel stoned as hell. Some brilliant wee pipe music playing, some wee floaty stuff, some drummy stuff, some blowy stuff. That's the type of music that was playing, and you just stand there and you're like jamming out with these hippie lads, and you're like, oh hippie, oh lad, oh hippie, oh lad. Then you decide you want beer, so you go to an Irish bar. It's the natural progression of your day. Oh, hippie music, beer. I did struggle to get beer in Austria, don't get me wrong, because well, nowhere seems to sell anything but Guinness or Stiegl, and Stiegl seemed quite off-putting, you know? Didn't try it. Really should have tried it, because maybe I would have liked it. Maybe it'd have been just as bland as the rest, but there was no proper good beers. I was hoping to get like just beer hall. We went to one beer place, sold Hogarden on tap, but we were only there for 10 minutes because no one else drinks beer apparently. What a shame. Well, I'll live in Heineken and Corona. Oh God, I'm done with Heineken, and oh God, I'm done with Corona. Do better beer. Just have more beer. There was so many beers in the spar shops. If I wanted to drink in the embassy, I'd have been having a field day. You know, your Erdingers, your whatchamacallums, and your hobgoblins, and your hogardens, but no. No places sell it. A few places sold Moretti. You could drink a bog standard Moretti, and that was fine and serviceable. I've done my beer rant. That was the beer rant section of this show. Enjoy it, because I enjoyed all my beer that I drank on holiday. All 4 pints. I had 2 pints because you couldn't find a pint anywhere. 2 pints. So you do the castle and all that jazz, and you think maybe we'll go to the cathedral, maybe we'll go downtown, we'll go down all the side streets, we'll go pop by Mozart's house, because Salzburg treats Mozart like Air treats Robert Burns, like Ayrshire treats Robert Burns. That man's face is everywhere. He's used to market every pencil, every tourist attraction, every street, every idea is all named after Mozart. Which did lead to us meeting a bunch of American opera singers in a bar once, and they sang Bohemian Rhapsody very, very, very well apparently. I spoke to them for a wee while, quite interesting people. You know, they did a Mozart gig in August, which we're apparently going to. That's unfortunately not true. We did lie to them. Well, I did definitely lie to them, because they believe I'm going to see them August 10th, I believe. Who knows? What an exciting world of lying to people in bars. Oh, that's some social awkwardness there from me. Oh, that's regret. And different from social awkwardness. You go to this mad, exotic, Mozart House. We didn't. We went and just took photos of it. Well, I took photos of it. Then you cross the water and you play with all the water features. There's so many water features in Salzburg, and I'm going to miss the water features. I miss walking down the street and seeing a really cool, pretty water feature and just going, there's a really cool, pretty water feature. Everywhere needs more water features. Jeremy Clarkson said it best in Top Ground Gear Force, that water features, they're the best. That's what he said in Top Ground Gear Force, or whatever the episode's called. Check out if you haven't, Top Ground Gear Force. Top Ground Gear Force, that's what it's called. Check out, it's a hilarious comic relief 30-minute special that Top Gear Boys did a few years back. We went one day to a place called Hangar 7, which you see in all the little thingies. Oh, Hangar 7, oh, Hangar 7, oh, Hangar 7. Hangar 7 was a place recommended to us by a drunk guy in a bar who apparently worked there. The lad was mates with another guy who used to all talking about Red Bull, because in case you didn't know, Red Bull's from Austria, along with Mozart and Hitler and Gunther, the Intercontinental Champion. He talks to us a lot about all this exciting stuff, and he's like, Hangar 7, you're on the edge of town, 20-minute bus. So we got the bus one day. His mate was weird. His mate told us he had a small penis, but it smelled like a big one. That was his patter. That was his line. That's what he used, I assume, to get the ladies or to have a laugh with the lads. They paid for myself and Mr. Murdoch to play darts with them on a really, really crappy, shitty board that drove us mad and made it wasn't real. It was like an electronic one that didn't work. How aggravating. I was just on the hunt for an actual dartboard to, play darts like a man, not darts with creepy men. Hangar 7 is a big hangar, Red Bull, all the Red Bull vehicles, some funky planes, some funky stuff. You know what, it's pretty decent, it's quite nice. Apparently it lights up at light, it's got cool viewpoints. Again, you can see a bunch of mountains, but it isn't worth the 30 minutes there, 30 minutes back for the building that's just a wee bit smaller than the airport. See if they also included Hangar 6, which looked pretty dope walking past. I think it'd have been a worthwhile tourist attraction, but you know what? It was good. I just wish it was more than what it was, because I was quite disappointed. Here's some bullet points that I'm going to expand on from the Scotrail tour. Each bus was connected to strings of electricity wires in the sky, and there was also more buses than you really could use. There was about a bus every 30 seconds you'd see. It was insane. There was so many bridges, because also we stayed right beside the river Salzburg, so you had to always cross a bridge. Spirited Away, the hike was just in the middle of town. The view of the fortress, it was called, just casually in the middle of town, across from a spar. I went up one morning myself, and it was insanely fun. It's quite a sketchy-ish path, but I absolutely loved it. It takes you right past the embassy, because everything always takes you past the embassy. All the buildings are different colours, which is my favourite thing to find in a place. Unfortunately, the only place I know around here that has different coloured buildings is called Bellsbank, and never go to Bellsbank. What else have we got on here? Pretty much every building that we found you could enter, which led to us finding a chapel called the Dom, going in and lighting the wee candle. It was very nice. There's a giant cemetery in the middle of town as well. That was weird. I'm just kind of rushing through on the build to the final couple of talking points. The gardens were a lot of fun to explore, very scenic, along with the main shop and side street and cemetery and Old Town and River. Such a good place for everyone who is hungover to have a morning walk. Went on many. I wasn't hungover ever. I didn't drink enough to get hungover, bloody hell. I just read a line from the review. The area surrounding the bus station had a spa that was open 24 hours, because it wasn't open 24 hours, it closed at 11. What am I talking? I'm talking pish. It was in the train station, and we used that on the very first night. It was about a 35-minute walk away from Everton, and that area wasn't very nice. There was a little close by, the bus station was there was another spa, and a kind of centre-y cinema, Asteroid City playing, but that wasn't really that nice an area, which is why we only went twice. I do believe that Salzburg is one of the best places I've ever been. In fact, it's one of the only holidays I've ever been on where I've came back saying I'd live in that location. I would live in Salzburg gladly, because the weather isn't apocalypse sunny, it isn't drought sunny, it isn't wildfire sunny, it is raining. It's a wee bit of thunder, a wee bit of lightning, quite a fair bit of lightning, quite a fair bit of thunder actually. Lightning was blue. We saw a rainbow in a water feature, which was a dope sight, and it was one of my favourite things that we witnessed. The gardens were also really cool. big map of Salzburg on the floor, you can pinpoint the embassy, lots of little statues everywhere, horses, flowers, a building. That's what gardens are. I would not recommend that place any more than I physically can. Go to Salzburg. If you're looking for a holiday, go to Salzburg because the place is stunning. And you know what, if you're not just a through the day kind of guy, through the day kind of girl, a through the day kind of non-binary, then you can find yourself going out at night in Salzburg. Salzburg's a different place at night. Salzburg, or should I say Celtic spirit, awakens the worst in people. What's the worst thing you've ever done? Oh, the worst thing I've ever done, yeah, it was murder. So you go out for a drink in Salzburg, it's quite easy. There's many a place to go to. There was a monkey bar, there was a cocktail bar, there was a cocktail bar, there was a cocktail bar, there was an Irish bar, there was a Vietnamese place. Realistically, you could go anywhere and have a nice wee beverage unless you wanted a beer, in which case you'd struggle. But lots of Jack and Coke, a lot of free Jack and Coke. We found a place called Celtic Spirit very quickly, and that place turned out easy enough to befriend its owner, or sorry, not the owner, but worker. It was an Irish bar, which led to us getting a hell of a lot of free drink, and a hell of a lot of privileges, a lot of free music to put on. The place did smell of urine, so it was much like a Glasgow pub actually, much like Glasgow. It wasn't great. I didn't like it, but mainly because I sat there stone cold sober. Maybe if you were pissed out your head, you'd like Celtic Spirit. And maybe if you were fond of Jared, you'd like Celtic Spirit. He wasn't my kind of guy. He wasn't my kind of geezer. We didn't relate in the same sense of humour. But you did meet a hell of a lot of people in Celtic Spirit. A lot of folk telling you interesting stuff. We met a guy who's got relatives in Beeve. We met a woman who's did law in uni in Edinburgh. Napes, I believe it was. You'd meet all sorts of people here. There's a cocktail bar down the road though that sold Heineken Corona, so I could drink there. And they offered blankies, which let you stay warm outside, and cosy blankies. There was a naked man on the wall inside, you could see a penis. It was a weird place, really enjoyed it. There was an underground bar, sports bar that had that really, really terrible darts board. Apparently they had good measures. And then there was a bar that we went to on the first night which had a man playing the piano to the House of the Rising Sun. Amazing. We didn't go back there because apparently it was boring. It had a board game section where there was just a bunch of board games. I never got to play chess or whatever, or board game A, B, C and D. That'd have been lovely. I'd have loved that. Myself and Soph went to a very exciting bar one day which sold Moretti pints, which was awesome. Film based, had Elvis on the walls, famous film star. Had Marilyn Monroe, James Dean, and a man that we couldn't identify. All these people, all exciting. Such a good wee joint that one was. Everywhere was a joint, by the way, in Salzburg, and we'll solely refer to things as a joint. I went to the tourist attraction place on the final day. I highly advise doing that. There's a bridge with all them locks on it. These are completely unrelated tangents to Celtic Spirit being the worst place in the world. But you could meet anyone, you could get pissed really easily, and then you could get home to the embassy, which was conveniently quite close. Is it the world's greatest nightlife? No, but was it the most perfect nightlife for the people that was there? Yes. Even though it was still too wild for me, I'd have liked it tamer. Salzburg, it's a bit of a riot, that Salzburg. If I could have went to bed at 12 every night, I really would have, but I just couldn't. You couldn't go to bed at 12 knowing all that exciting stuff was happening in Celtic Spirit. The American opera singers, the man for Chile who was evil, is the word I'm going to use. The guy with his little dog, the little doggy. The dog was called, oh no, I forgot dog's name. Oh, this is insulting. Dog. They shot the film, a good portion of the film, night and day in Austria. Classic James Mangold film. Sound and Music is Austria 101, and that's my Austrian film knowledge complete. Oh, we walked past the theatre, and the theatre had two plays on. One of them was called The Seagull and the Gun, and one of them was called something about sex. It was like Sex Second Act, the big bit, or whatever it was. Yeah, that was really, really weird and made us deeply, deeply uncomfortable, but it happened. And you know what? The Salzburgian people can enjoy whatever form of Magic Mike they'd like. I stand here to conclude this episode, I'm standing up currently, to declare that there is no better place than Salzburg. But there is no place like home. And we are home now, we are in Scotland. This has been the Scotrail Tours Salzburg special. It's a bit like Top Gear. God, I love Top Gear. Thank you very much for listening. Thank you very much for reading the Salzburg review. Or if you haven't, you can find it linked in the episode descriptor, so give that a wee double tap, a wee like on the old Instagram, follow the Scotrail Tours account, share this episode about, because the Scotrail Tours audio podcast is what my podcast was designed for. It was designed for me to take Scotrail Tours and make it in audio format, so please send it love, share it around, make it quite popular. Anyway, I've been Ryan. You can check out everything you want in the episode descriptor, I'm sure it's all there. Enjoy the rest of your day. Now, typically I'll always conclude by saying I would recommend you pay a visit to Glasgow, I'd recommend you pay a visit to Failford, I'd recommend you pay a visit to Auchengrove. It's a wee bit harder for my audience to get to Salzburg. But hey, if you do manage to make it to Salzburg, then good on you. And if it's in 20 years' time, I hope you think back to what I said. And hey, if you're from Austria, because I will also be marketing this to the people of Austria and the people of Salzburg, hope I didn't offend you, hope you liked what I had to say, hope you could understand what I was saying, and what's a Scottish word to say goodbye to you. You know what? Gallus.